When in doubt, draft the freaks. Go! What is up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike coming back at you with another Who Daily. This is the first post-draft edition. We're going to take a look at the Bengals' entire draft class. And it looks like they've been watching the show, guys. Remember what I always say? When in doubt, draft the freaks. All but one of their draft picks had a 9+ RAS score. We'll go through all of them here in a second, but just wanted to do a few takeaways really quickly from the draft altogether. So why did they trade away these 2 picks? They went into the draft with 8 draft picks. Why did they trade 2 of them away? They only ended up making 6. They used 2 draft picks to move up twice to go up and get guys they wanted, essentially. So here's what I think happened. I think that they were eyeballing a couple of punters that ended up going sooner than they wanted. I think that they were ready to go to use one of their 7th round picks on a punter, but nothing earlier than that. And when they saw their desired punters had all already been selected, they knew that they could just use it to trade up and get a player that they want. I think that's part of it. Another part of it is they have a pretty deep roster that they're really comfortable with, and I think they're more than comfortable of going into camp with 6 draft picks instead of 8, just based on how many spots that they know are available in their roster. It's a really deep roster. It's a really good one. It's going to be one of the most competitive rosters to make in the NFL altogether this offseason. So going in, I think that they're completely fine with waiting until after the draft to sign a few UDFAs, some undrafted free agents, and which they've already done. I'll do another episode about the undrafted free agents that they did sign, what I think about them, which ones might end up making the team. After 3 years of Zac Taylor drafting, I think we're starting to see trends that we can start to look for in the way that he drafts. Number one, all the people that they draft tend to be either have high production documented, or they have proven production that they can extrapolate out. And basically that just means good tape. So when they watch the tape, these guys are making tackles, they're breaking up passes, they're getting sacks or pressures, they're winning their matchups essentially on tape. So that's kind of a must-have. That's kind of a thing you see across the board for all the people that they've drafted. Number 2, almost all of the time an elite athlete, right? 9+ RAS scores. You think Dax Hill is he's a freakish athlete. Tyson Anderson, who they got later, another safety, may end up being an even freakier athlete because he's bigger. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he runs faster than Dax Hill does, or at least his 40 time is faster. And Jeffrey Gunter, he was one of the most athletic, from a testing perspective, one of the most athletic edge players in the draft. Got him in the 7th round, right? So I think you look at proven production, elite athletes, and versatility. So if you look at all of the players that they drafted, even the offensive lineman, he plays more than one offensive line spot, and it has in his past. Jeffrey Gunter, he can play your 5 tech and wider, right? So directly over the tackle out to the 9 tech, which is the one that's way split out wide. He can play those spots, all of those. Doubtful he can kick inside. He's a little too small to do that, but he can play all of the edges, and he's athletic enough. He used to play linebacker, I think, where he can actually stand up and cover a zone like a flat or a curl zone in an exotic type defense that Lou Anarumo likes to run. So you look at Dax Hill, he can play all of the safety spots, probably not much of a box safety, but Tyson Anderson absolutely is. And even Taylor-Britt, who I think is going to be an exclusively outside corner, I think he's your Eli Apple replacement down the road, maybe not this year, but definitely next. Even he has safety versatility where some of his skills look like he translates into playing a little bit of deep safety if they need him to. So I think really it all boils down to how many spots can you back up, essentially, right? Dax Hill is the number 1 backup for like 4 different safety spots on this team, right? Taylor-Britt can play any of the corner spots and maybe some spot safety. Tyson Anderson can play box safety, strong safety, and your joker type safety that plays around the box, or overhang safety. Zachary Carter, very versatile defensive lineman. He can play some 3 tech for you if they're going to add a little bit of weight, I hope, but he also plays a really strong heavy edge out there. Okay, so let's just take a look at how I usually scout. You guys know how I usually scout. First thing you do, I don't watch a lot of tape just because it's hard to make YouTube videos of watching a lot of tape, but if you look at Daxton Hill, 6 foot, 191, 21 and a half years old. It's one thing we learned about this draft, about this kind of draft class, that the Zac Taylor regime doesn't care as much about super young prospects as much, and maybe that's just a quirk of this draft being, the COVID year. A lot of players decided not to come out during and took the COVID year off, and then came out later, and then played another year and came out, all of that kind of thing. So maybe that's just a quirk of this draft, but they didn't draft super young players. Daxton Hill, though, if you take a look, he does match our number one criteria, which is his grading got better every single year that he was in college from 2019 to 2021. You can see the versatility in the snaps by alignment here, right? In 2021, he played in the slot 580 snaps, which is where I think the Bengals are going to initially play him. He's going to be a slot. He's going to be backup to Mike Hilton starting off, and he's going to play whenever they have nickel and dime defenses on the field. He's going to be the extra defensive back on the field. Played box safety a little bit, played deep safety a little bit. So he's kind of your joker type safety. He's kind of a fun toy for Lou Anarumo to play with, right? And I think that's really what Lou Anarumo wanted. He said, hey, Zach, last year you got your fun toy with Jamar Chase on the offense. I want to get my toy that I can play with here on the defense, and it ended up being Daxton Hill. So if we take a look at Daxton Hill's RAS score here, you can see 9.04. I mean, just wild. And if you change it, and here's what's crazy. If you change Daxton Hill's position in the RAS calculator to cornerback instead of safety, his RAS score actually goes up. But you can see just super athletic guy, 9.45 compared to the corners, which is a higher RAS score than a lot of the first round corners that the Bengals were looking at anyway. But he's super fast, 4.38 40, really good splits, so really good acceleration. But if you take let's move on now to Cam. So I think really strong piece there with Daxton Hill. Really going to be a fun piece for as he matures and becomes a better football player and gets used to the NFL. Really good player for Lou Anarumo to have on his roster. Next, the Bengals in the second round took Cam Taylor-Britt. He is a cornerback, an outside corner for Nebraska, 5'11", 196. 22 and a half years old. You can see he got better every single year he was in college, so he checks that box for us. The completion percentage given up is not bad. You'd want to see it a little bit better, but you can see out here he played most of his snaps on the outside corner spot for the Huskers. So I think that's what he's going to end up doing. If you take a look at his RAS score, 8.32, another one, same speed on the 40 as Daxton Hill, 4.38. Just a really solid athlete, just really good athlete from a RAS perspective. And so you can see the idea here: get the elite athletes, and so far as from my perspective, you can split hairs here about on that second pick for Travis Jones, who is still on the board, and then maybe you don't get. But I think they made the calculus here that they're okay with getting Zach Carter as a 3-tech in the third round in order to get the better corner in Cam Taylor-Britt in the second round. I think that was the main calculus there. But if you take a look at Zach Carter, their third round pick, the defensive tackle, he is mainly a 3-tech, 6'4", 282. Carter can actually probably give you some edge. He's actually listed as an edge in PFF, but he can give you edge versatility as well. You can see his score increased from the time he was in college to the time he left college, which is great. You want to see that pass rush win rate a little bit better. He's a little bit raw. He's got he didn't have a super set position, as you can see by the snap counts. He had 137 snaps from the B gap, which is what people mean when they say 3-tech. Over the tackle, which is the 5 technique, he gave them 147 snaps, mostly coming off the edge, though. So he got most of the snaps as an edge rusher. I think the Bengals will use him as a 3-tech and a 5-tech, mainly. I don't think they're going to bump him too far outside. He just doesn't have the explosion to do that, I don't think. But if you take a look at Zachary Carter, he's listed as a defensive tackle in the RAS score, 8.11. Just a solid athlete. You want to see the explosion, the vertical and the broad jump, specifically the vertical. You want to see that a little bit better. The vertical jump is going to tell you what you need to know about explosion and get off, which is kind of something you can see on tape. He's occasionally doesn't have the best get off. Let's see what he looks like, though, if you run him as a defensive end here. Yeah, see, he's not. This is why I'm saying I don't think the Bengals are going to use him as a defensive end. As a defensive end, he's not a great athlete. As a defensive tackle or a 5-tech, really great athlete. So, as you can see, another guy checking off the boxes. Checking off the boxes for the Bengals with the athleticism, the production. Next, Cordell Volson, who is a interior offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. He's a little bit older, almost 24 years old, will be 24 during the season. 6'6", 315. He had put up outrageous. So this is a pure production pick right here. His tape is amazing. He did very, very well at the postseason bowl that he went to, not the college football playoff or the college football bowl, but like the senior bowl equivalent of what the smaller schools do. I'm blanking on the name of it, but he dominated that. Lots of scouts there said they would be surprised if he was still there at the end of the fourth round. He was there, so the Bengals went and got him. But you can see just dominating, like lesser competition, but just absolutely dominating it. And you can see he played on the right side his whole career, but he has guard and tackle experience. The Bengals will be looking to probably transition to right guard or left guard, one of the two. Really good shot at making the team, this guy, though. Nothing on the RAS score, nothing on the testing that blows you away. 25 bench presses is okay for an offensive lineman. You'd like to see that closer to 30 or above. They're the exact right size you're looking for, though. He's a little tall, and you can see that you can see that on tape. Really, I've watched a few of his reps. He gets every once in a while he'll get beat. When he gets beat, it's because he gives up leverage, and so these shorter, more powerful defensive tackles may give him trouble. But that's something you can fix. That's something you can work on and drill out of somebody. So let's see. This is a Frank Pollock pick. I'm almost positive this is a Frank Pollock saw the guy he wanted and said, you know what, you can draft all defense, but I need one player, and it's got to be it's going to be this guy. So I think this is straight up a Frank Pollock saw one of his guys still left where he didn't expect him to be, and then went after him. And while I don't know that Cordell Volson's going to be a plug-and-play starter or anything like that, I think that he could end up surprising people. I love that he's adding competition to the room and saying, hey, it's nobody owns this job, this left guard job. Somebody's going to have to go win it, and if it's Volson, then great. But one thing you can guarantee that they have enough bodies and enough talent in the room to end up producing a league average or better left guard. That's what I think, and I think the competition's good enough to keep him playing that well unless they want to lose their job. So I think that's a really good pick for the Bengals. Again, you can split hairs here. Maybe right here you go. You'd rather go like Braxton Jones, who I think was still on the board here. I liked Braxton Jones quite a bit, but Cordell Volson. They both play for really small schools and dominated, so you can split hairs on that one. Next, the Bengals in round 5 did trade up for Tyson Anderson, a safety out of Toledo, and Tyson Anderson is kind of an athletic freak, man. This is what I say: when in doubt, draft the freaks. This is the kind of guy I'm talking about. And I didn't talk about a whole lot in the pre-draft build-up because I thought they would go get a safety early and then not draft another one, but they ended up drafting 2. And if you're going to draft 2, this is a good one to do. I can't explain to you what's going on with his grades here. He put up a really good grade in 2020 and an 80.5 and then fell off to 69.3. Not sure what happened there. I didn't watch a lot of Tyson Anderson tape. You just never know what kind of, Toledo may just have been using him in a weird role, but we are talking about a 5th round pick here, so it is what it is. But the crazy thing about Tyson Anderson is his RAS score. As a free safety, his RAS score is 9.49, which is believe it or not, only the second highest RAS score of the guys the Bengals drafted. So super fast, 4.36 at 210 pounds. 6'2", 210 pounds, and he runs a 4.36 with really good splits, really good agility grades. Not as much, the vertical and the broad jump you don't really care that much about. I mean, Jesse Bates is, if you look at it, it doesn't have a good vertical or broad jump. But everything else is, he's tested like a freak. So, go draft your freaks. And I think the calculus here is basically Daxton Hill is basically your replacement for Bates / Ricardo Allen, right? So play deep safety. He can play a little slot safety as well, probably where he'll play quite a bit. But Tyson Anderson's going to be more of your Von Bell replacement, who's going to be playing a lot in the box. He's bigger. He's not afraid to go downhill and tackle people. So I think Tyson Anderson's going to, these are your two safeties of the future. Because, like I've told you guys, they've got two safeties after next year. If they're not able to re-sign Bates or Bell, they don't have any safeties on this roster. So they were always going to pick at least one safety in this draft. They, as of right now, they picked three players. All three of the defensive backs that they picked can play safety. Cam Taylor-Britt probably should play outside and will play outside, but Daxton Hill and Tyson Anderson could be solid safeties in the future, and the Bengals have pretty decent success rate picking safeties in the later rounds, actually. So see Clayton Fedulum, if you guys remember that throwback. So last pick that the Bengals made was actually the most athletic pick that they made, oddly enough. Jeffrey Gunter, 23 years old, out of Coastal Carolina, 6'2", 258. Didn't dominate at Coastal Carolina as much as you would want him to, but he did have a pretty good pass rush win rate. Played almost exclusively edge out there, outside the tackle here. Played a little bit of off ball, but he did play over the tackle as well. So five tech and wider, a lot like Zachary Carter. These guys play similar positions. Zach Carter's bigger, so you may be able to get some 3 tech out of him. In fact, I think that's probably the plan, is to turn Zach Carter into a 3 tech and have Jeffrey Gunter be more of a 5 tech if he makes the team. Look, it's going to be a tough one. It's a tough team to make from a defensive back or defensive line perspective specifically. People forget about Wyatt Hubert. He's coming back as well, the 7th round defensive end they picked last year. They got Jeffrey Gunter now. They got Joseph Osai coming back. They still have Hubbard and Hendrickson and Cam Sample and they just got a lot of dudes. It's going to be a tough roster to make. This guy has a shot, and here's why. 9.75 RAS score, the highest RAS score on the Bengals draft board, came in the 7th round, and he just blew it up at the combine. I mean, he just tested like a freak. And look at these comps. Javon Curse, okay. Boye Mafe, who I really liked in this draft. Kayvon Thibodeau, who went in the 1st round. It was like first 10. He's a top 10 player. Top 10. And, just the upside to a guy with this kind of athletic testing is incredible. That's why you draft guys like this, right? So, just to recap, I think the Bengals did really. I think they did themselves a favor here. I think they really didn't reach. They took what was BPA on their board. They let the draft fall to them, and when they saw guys in positions where they could move up and get them, and they were targeting them, they did that. They drafted very, very smartly. I think like I said, Dax Hill is going to be your next kind of. I think they're going to try to make him into a free safety. He's got all of the skills set that you need, but he can also slide down and play a little bit of slot corner. So he's going to be a free safety slot corner type player. Whereas Tyson Anderson, the other safety that they drafted, I think is going to be more of your Von Bell, pure strong safety in the box, covering tight ends. Even though I know Dax Hill is pretty good at covering tight ends, but he gets out muscled a lot of times by tight ends. Tyson Anderson probably a little tougher to out muscle at 210, 6'2", 210. Cam Taylor-Britt, that's going to be your Eli Apple replacement. Essentially, this is he's going to probably end up playing 200, 300 snaps this year. Backing up. Giving the outside corners a breather, playing some slot corner, going in on nickel and dime defenses as the extra defensive back. But I think they got a lot of pieces, and I think the main theme of this draft, guys, is versatility. I need players. Basically, you've got your mad scientists and Lou Anarumo. You're giving him all these fresh, new, exciting ingredients to mix in and come up with all kinds of new concoctions and ways to befuddle and confuse these AFC quarterbacks like they did on the way to the Super Bowl this year. Later in the week, guys, I'm going to go through some undrafted free agents, some more roster building things that the Bengals are going to be doing, and who I think has a shot at actually making this team out of the drafted players and undrafted free agents and future free agent signings. They're still going to sign some more people. So, but until then, guys, I've been Mike. This has been Who Daily. See ya.